The sound of a garage door opening changed everything that quiet morning. What he saw next made his hands freeze on the steering wheel. Daniel had lived in the neighborhood for 5 peaceful years, never missing a payment, never breaking a rule. His garage was his private space, a place for tools, memories, and calm. But that morning, a strange sedan sat inside it, parked neatly like it belonged there. A note on the windshield read, "Temporary use. HOA approved." His heart sank. The HOA president, a woman known for smiling while enforcing power, had crossed a line no one believed she would dare. Daniel stood still, reading the note again, realizing this wasn't a mistake. It was confidence. Control. A message. Neighbors watched from windows, pretending not to see. He checked his phone and found an HOA email sent at dawn, explaining that his garage was in use during daytime hours and therefore repurposed temporarily. No permission. No warning. Just authority. Daniel felt anger rise, but something else followed it, clarity. He replied with a single calm message saying nothing more than, "Noted." Then he walked back inside, closed the garage door slowly, and locked it. The sedan was now sealed in. 2 hours later, Daniel boarded a plane for a business trip he'd already planned. He didn't cancel it. He didn't call anyone. As the plane lifted off, his phone buzzed nonstop. He didn't answer. The neighborhood had no idea what was about to unfold next. By sunset, panic had replaced confidence at the HOA office, the garage door remained shut, and the car was still inside. The HOA president arrived with 2 board members, knocking sharply, then shouting Daniel's name. No answer. They tried calling him, then emailing him, then posting notices on his door. The irony was impossible to ignore. The same rules they used to intimidate residents now trapped them in their own decision. The car belonged to the HOA president's sister, borrowed without explanation. Neighbors gathered quietly, watching the drama unfold. Some filmed. Some whispered. The board debated calling a locksmith, but their bylaws required owner consent. They debated towing the garage itself. Then realized how absurd that sounded. Late that night, they contacted their legal advisor, who asked a simple question: "Did you have written permission?" Silence answered. The next morning, a tow truck arrived but left after reading the property deed posted online by a curious neighbor. The garage was private. Completely. The HOA president tried to spin the story through a community email, claiming a misunderstanding. But screenshots spread faster than apologies. Each hour that passed made the situation worse. News reached surrounding neighborhoods. People recognized the name. This wasn't her first incident. Still, Daniel stayed quiet. He watched the chaos through forwarded videos sent by neighbors who had never spoken to him before. His calm response confused everyone. On day 3, the HOA president demanded an emergency meeting, promising to resolve the issue. But resolve required access, and access required Daniel. And Daniel was gone, unreachable, letting the silence speak louder than any argument. By the 5th day, the story had escaped the neighborhood. What began as arrogance had become public embarrassment. Local bloggers picked it up first, labeling it a lesson in overreach. Comment sections filled with people sharing similar stories. The HOA president tried damage control, offering statements about cooperation and respect. But the images told a different story. A locked garage. A trapped car. A board that assumed power without consent. Meanwhile, Daniel sat in a hotel room hundreds of miles away, sipping coffee and reading everything calmly. He wasn't hiding. He simply wasn't rushing. On day 7, the HOA's attorney formally requested access, acknowledging fault without admitting it. Daniel replied politely, stating he would return on schedule. Nothing more. Back home, the mood shifted. Neighbors stopped avoiding the issue and started supporting him. Someone placed a sign near the entrance reading, "Private property still matters." It disappeared within hours, but photos remained. The HOA president stopped appearing in public. Her confidence had cracked. She knew this wasn't about a car anymore. It was about authority being challenged quietly, legally, and publicly. When Daniel finally boarded his return flight, his phone held dozens of unread messages. He didn't open them. He waited until his feet touched the driveway he owned. The garage door stood unchanged. He took a deep breath, aware that opening it would end the tension, but closing it again had already changed the balance forever. Daniel returned home without announcement or audience. Only a few neighbors watched from a distance, holding their breath. He unlocked the garage slowly, lifting the door just enough for light to spill inside. The sedan sat untouched, exactly where it had been left. He closed the door again and walked inside his home. An hour later, the HOA president arrived, this time alone. Her voice was quieter. Her posture careful. She asked to speak. Daniel stepped outside, calm and composed. He listened as she apologized, carefully choosing words that avoided responsibility. Daniel responded gently, explaining boundaries, ownership, and trust. He handed her printed copies of HOA bylaws highlighting every violation. She read them in silence. He then informed her that the situation had been documented, legally reviewed, and shared with media outlets. Her face changed. Not anger. Fear. She asked what he wanted. Daniel smiled politely and said, "I want what I already had." Later that day, the HOA released a formal apology email to the entire community, admitting misuse of authority and announcing leadership changes. The garage was unlocked that evening, the car removed quietly, without witnesses. But the damage had already settled. Power no longer felt absolute. Neighbors spoke more openly. Meetings became shorter. Rules softened. Daniel didn't celebrate. He didn't boast. He simply reclaimed his space and his peace. But everyone knew the truth now. The garage wasn't just locked for 2 weeks. It had unlocked something else entirely. Weeks passed, but the silence felt different now. The neighborhood breathed easier, as if tension had lifted. Daniel noticed subtle changes. HOA notices were written with respect instead of threat. Board meetings were open again. The president stepped down quietly, citing personal reasons. A new interim chair promised transparency. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact now waved, thanked him, and shared their own stories. Daniel listened more than he spoke. He never framed himself as a hero. He simply reminded people of rules working both ways. One evening, a neighbor stopped by and said something that stayed with him: "You didn't fight loud. You fought right." The words mattered. The garage became just a garage again, but the message remained. Boundaries had been redrawn. The HOA, once feared, now hesitated before acting. Months later, Daniel received a letter confirming policy revisions protecting private property explicitly. It was official. The mistake would never happen again. He placed the letter in a drawer, not as a trophy, but as proof. Proof that calm beats chaos. Proof that patience can be powerful. Proof that silence, when chosen wisely, can speak loudest. The neighborhood never forgot the 2 weeks the garage stayed locked. Neither did the HOA. Time turned the incident into legend. New residents heard it as a warning disguised as a story. Daniel moved forward, unchanged, but aware. He participated in meetings again, not to control, but to observe. When debates grew heated, people looked to him. He reminded them that power should serve, not dominate. The HOA transformed slowly, learning restraint the hard way. A year later, the garage door opener broke. Daniel fixed it himself, smiling at the irony. The space that once symbolized control now represented balance. The incident was never repeated. Not there. Not nearby. Other communities reached out, asking questions, learning lessons. Daniel always said the same thing: know your rights. Stay calm, document everything. He never mentioned locking the door as revenge. He described it as protection. When asked if he would do it again, he paused, then nodded. Not because it felt good, but because it worked. Respect returned not through force, but through consequence. And that lesson spread quietly, just like the story itself. The garage door closed one final time, quietly and without drama. But the lesson it taught remained wide open. What began as entitlement ended as accountability. The HOA never crossed that line again, and neither did any board that heard the story. Daniel didn't win by yelling or threatening. He won by staying calm, staying legal, and staying away. 2 weeks of silence changed years of behavior. The neighborhood became what it was meant to be: shared space with private respect. And every time someone parked carefully, asked permission, or questioned authority, they remembered the locked garage. They remembered the cost of assuming power over what was never theirs. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.